All right, guys. So we're back again with the video today. Hopefully yesterday went well. Today we're going to look at some 3D applications of Pythagorean theorem. So you may want a highlighter for this. So if you need to pause the video and get a highlighter, go ahead and do that now. All right. So this is just applications of the Pythagorean theorem with 3D shapes. So essentially what happens with 3D shapes is with prisms like this, rectangular prisms, cubes, things like that, you're eventually going to have to use the Pythagorean theorem twice. Okay. So we'll go through some of these. Hopefully they'll make sense to us. And then I'll be back tomorrow. So whatever we need to look at again, we can totally do that tomorrow. All right. So it says Lindsay wants to mail a candle that is 8 inches tall to her friend for her birthday. She is at the store looking for a box to ship the candle in. Lindsay needs to know if the candle will fit diagonally in the box shown. And it says, how can she use the Pythagorean theorem to help her answer this question? So they're trying to figure out if that candle was to lay in there sideways, so like that dotted line that they have, would an 8-inch candle fit in there? So what I need to do now is I need to use the height of the box. So you'll always use the height of what they give you, but the base is what's different. So this triangle, it's a triangle, so it only has one distance from here to here. So I'm going to have to find this distance to find this triangle. So you're going to find this triangle, all of its lengths. I know this one is 7, but you're also going to have to use this triangle down here to find this length right here. Okay, so you're going to use the triangle on the base of the figure to find its diagonal, which will be the base of this orange triangle. So I'll start off with this bottom here and do, these are legs because they're straight distances. This is diagonal, so my A and my B. So 4 squared plus 3 squared equals C squared. So that's 16 plus 9, so that's 25 equals C squared. I'll square root that, and I'll find that this is 5. So you'll use the bottom base of that prism to find its diagonal, which will then become one of the legs of the triangle that you're needing to find the hypotenuse of. So I know this is 5. I know this is 7, and now I'm going to be able to find this distance. So now this triangle, these are 2 legs as well. So now this is the leg of the orange one. It's the hypotenuse of the green one, but it's the leg of the orange one, the bottom. So A and B, and I'll be finding the C. So 5 squared plus 7 squared equals C squared. My calculator there. So that's 25 plus 49. So that's 74 is my C squared. And then I'll square root that. And I find that the distance in that box, this right here, is 8.6. So the question says, is the box big enough to fit the candle? The candle is 8 inches, so yes, because it could fit up to 8.6 inches diagonally in that box. All right, we're going to do it again and again. So hopefully you can pick that up after we do another one here. All right, so the directions here say use the Pythagorean theorem to find the length of AB shown in each prism below. Round your answers to the nearest tenth. So AB is this diagonal distance here. So AB is what I'm looking to find. Okay, well, I'm always going to use that diagonal, and I'm always going to use the height of the shape. Now, the only thing that I have to find before I'm able to find this hypotenuse is the base of this purple triangle. And the base of this purple triangle is actually the hypotenuse of the bottom of the shape. So I'm first going to need to find this triangle before I can find this one. So this bottom triangle, so some people like to draw it out. This orange one is 13 and 6. So I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem to find this C here. So that'll be 6 squared plus 13 squared equals C squared. So that's 36 plus 13 squared, so that's 205. And then I'll square root that. And remember, we're going to round to 1 decimal place here, so 14.3. So this right here is 14.3. So that gives me the bottom of that triangle. I know the height of that triangle there, which now just leaves me with finding the hypotenuse of that triangle, which is the AB that they were looking for. So I'm going to use this for my legs, and I'm going to find my C. So my 13 squared plus my 14.3 squared should equal my C squared. So on my calculator, I'm just going to type in 13 squared plus 14.3 squared. Make sure I type mine in right. So 14.3 squared. And I get 373.49. And then I'll square root that. And I get about 19.3, and this says inches, so we're going to say inches. So the distance between A and B is 19.3 inches. All right, I do want to give you a minute to let you try number 2 to see how you can come up with that. So you'll probably need to pause the video for about 3 or 4 minutes. Go ahead and go for it, and then unpause it. So, all right, go for it. All right, so you're trying to find AB here, okay? So you're trying to find this triangle right here. Now, this distance we don't know, this distance we don't know, but we do know that the height is 15. So the height of this prism is 15. So I'm going to take this triangle that was left on the bottom and find the diagonal there. So this is like this triangle that's on the bottom here where this is 24 and 8, and I'm going to find that hypotenuse. So that's my 2 legs. So 24 squared plus 8 squared equals C squared. So that's 640 equals C squared. And then I'll square root that and get 25.3. So this is 25.3. And then I'll find the hypotenuse of this purple one. So the 25.3 squared plus the 15 squared should equal that C squared. So 25.3 squared plus the 15 squared is 865.09. And then I'll square root that and round it to 1 decimal. So 29.4, and this was inches as well. All right, as we move on here, we're going to move to number 3. So it says, find the length of AB. So A to B, they want me to find this length. If the length of A to C, so A to C, so this length right here, they say is 12. And length CD, so C to D, is 5. That's centimeters. And the length of BD is 2. So BD is 2. All right, so the only difference between this one and these is that these were already labeled. This one you had to read and label. All right, so I'd like you to pause the video, and I want you to go ahead and find the purple hypotenuse, the A to B there. All right, so you should have went this diagonal there to find that orange triangle first. So this is my A and my B. So you should have done 12 squared plus 5 squared equals C squared. 4 plus 25. So that's 169. Square root that, and I get 13. So this right here is 13. Once I know that 13, I know that I can use these 2 sides to make that triangle. So this is 13, and this is 2, and I will find that hypotenuse. So 13 squared plus 2 squared equals C squared. So plus 4. So it's 173 equals C squared. And then I'll square root that and round to 1 decimal place. So it comes out to be 13.15, which rounds to 13.2, and this was centimeters. All right. So hopefully you got that. We're going to flip it over and look at just a couple more problems that are different prisms. So like I said, these are rectangular and cubes, rectangular prisms and cubes. On the back, we're going to look at some pyramids, I think. All right. So pyramids and cones. So in a pyramid or a cone, the height will always be perpendicular to the base, meaning it intersects the base at a 90-degree angle. So this is the height right here of that cone. This is the height right here of that pyramid. Okay. This right here, this dotted line is the slant height. So it says the slant height is the lateral distance from the top of the cone to the or the pyramid to the base. Label S the slant height of the cone and the pyramid above. So the slant height would be like this one right here and this one right here. And look, it makes a little triangle. Okay, so slant height is called slant height because it's the diagonal distance. Okay, whereas the height is always straight up and down. And I was just teaching this to the Math 7 classes where when you go to the doctor, you don't lean over to the side for them to measure your height. You have to stand straight up and tall. So the height will always be straight up and tall. The slant height will always be the one that's leaning to the side. And in this case will be the hypotenuse of each triangle. Okay, so it says here, draw and label R the radius of the cone above. So remember, radius on a circle is the distance from the center to the side. So this right here is the radius because it goes from the center of the circle to the side. And this right here, it says connect the height and slant height of the pyramid along the base. And this is also going to be our other leg. I'm not going to label R because it's a square on the bottom there. So it's not the radius, but it would be half the distance of this. So this would be half that distance. So if this is 20, then this part here is 10. Oops, sorry. So like if this whole distance down here at the bottom was 20, then this piece right here for this pyramid would be 10. So it kind of cuts it in half there. All right, so as we move on down here to the bottom, it says use the Pythagorean theorem to help you find the missing measurements in each problem. Round all solutions to the nearest 10th when necessary. So 1 decimal still. All right, so number 4 says the radius of the cone. So we just talked about radius at the top. So radius is that center to the side. So the radius of that cone is 14 centimeters. And it says the slant height, so remember slant height is the one that's slanted, so the one that's diagonal, is 28 centimeters. Find the height of the cone. So find this. Well, this is the diagonal, so this must be the hypotenuse. And these are my 2 legs, so my A and my B. So I would do A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So we'll do 14 squared. So that's going to be A squared plus 196 equals 28 squared, which is 784. I'll subtract the 196. So minus 196. And I get 588. And then to find the height of that cone there, I'll square root that. So the square root of 588. And I get 24.2 because I'm rounding to 1 decimal, and it says centimeters. So different than the front because, well, it's a different shape, but it also asks for a different part. The other one I had to find 2 hypotenuse. This one I had to find a leg. All right, we're going to do number 5 together, and then I'm going to let you try a couple. So it says the base of the pyramid of a square with side lengths of 30. So they're saying that this is 30, this is 30, this is 30, this is 30. The height of the pyramid is 50, so the height is straight up and down, so this is 50 right here. Find the slant height, so I'm finding the slant height. Now, what I'm missing, though, is this distance. So up here at the top, we said that this distance right here is half of what this is. So like if this whole thing is 20, this is 10. So if this whole thing is 30, then this must be 15. So if this whole thing is 30, then this must be 15. And those are my two legs, my A and my B. So 50 squared plus 15 squared equals C squared, because I'm finding slant height, so the hypotenuse. So 50 squared plus 15 squared is 2725. And then I'll square root that and get 52.2, and that would be inches. All right, so I'm gonna let you all do number 6. So go ahead and pause the video here, do number 6 yourself, and then after a couple minutes, unpause it. All right, so this word might have thrown some people off. Diameter. So we talked about this the other day. Diameter of a circle is all the way across. Radius is half of that. So if the diameter is 40, then the radius is 20. So that means that this was 20. The height, so that's the straight up and down, is 21. Find the slant height. So I'm going to find C. So 21 squared plus 20 squared equals C squared. So that was 841. And then I'll square root that and get 29, and that's feet. All right, and then the last question. All right. So this one has a distance on here. This one tells you a distance here. So go ahead and pause the video and try this one on your own. All right, so it says a window washer is repelling and cleaning the windows of a hotel shaped like the square pyramid shown. The height of the pyramid, so the straight up and down height, is 200. If the window washer travels to the top of the pyramid and back down along the straight path, how many total feet has he traveled? So this over here would be what? Well, if this is 300, then this must be 150. So I'm going to find this part first, which is the hypotenuse. So 200 squared plus 150 squared equals the C squared. Using my calculator here. So that's 62,500. I'll square root that and get 250. So this is 250. So what I'm assuming that they're talking about is as if the window washer travels to the top of the pyramid and then back down the straight path. So I'm saying that it probably traveled from here to here and then back down the straight path. How far many total feet did he travel? So that would be the 250 plus 200. So I would say that he covered 450 feet. All right, so you do have an assignment. I will tell you this, on the assignment, I would make sure that I use the prism at the very top of the page to help you answer questions 1 and 2. So they didn't give you 2 separate pictures for 1 and 2 on the assignment. Just label on 1 and 2 on that picture at the top. So like this one, so like I ended up labeling some of it using the labels here to help you figure out what they're asking for, okay? But keep referring back to your notes. And like I said, tomorrow I'll be back. We'll go over whatever we need to go over from the last couple days. All right. See you all tomorrow.